Okay, now we are live on Facebook as well. So gentlemen, please help to share. Okay, for everybody in the house, evening everybody. We are actually going to start now. So really thank you so much for joining us this evening on overseas properties. I just want to give a bit of background how did this started. So of course, it actually started about July last year, almost 1 year ago. So I actually went to Thailand, Bangkok, hopefully to buy overseas properties. So of course, one of the reasons why I actually want to buy overseas properties is because so I got some feedback. Okay, so one of the reasons why I actually think of buying overseas properties is actually a few reasons. One is of course from an investment perspective, it's actually prudent. If let's say if you can afford, you should actually put some money overseas, diversify geographically, because most of us, especially if you have a property in Singapore, 90% of our money is actually in Singapore. So if we can, we should diversify. Then of course, I'm so thinking about retirement. I'm also thinking about retirement. So personally, Singapore, number one is maybe a bit boring for retirement. Number two is, of course, it's the cost factor. So that's why, me and my wife, we are thinking of going Bangkok to take a look to see whether we can actually buy something. Of course, invest now first, then eventually can use it as a retirement home. But then as we go there, wow, then suddenly, so many issues got flagged out. Okay, like for example, we talk about the investment aspect first, demand and supply, capital gain potential, whether can rent out, so on and so forth. Okay, then we actually talk about the legal issues. Okay, like for example, yes, it's actually freehold property, but is it really the freehold? Is it equivalent to Singapore freehold? That kind of thing. Then after that, how to manage a property. Then of course, luckily I actually get to speak to these two gentlemen. Then like for example, what about visa? It's not like you buy a property, you want to go there and stay there, you can stay there. Are you allowed to stay there over long term or not? Okay. So I decided that, okay, I shouldn't just jump in like this. I definitely need to learn more first. That's why what I did was I actually gathered experts, Kenny and Joseph. I'm so glad they actually willing to join in. So get an expert to come in we want to form an interest group. Like I said, we're not here to sell course, gather people with the same interest. So learn together. Okay, what we really want is learn together, help each other, and of course, make sure we make sound investment doing overseas. So that's actually how it all started. Okay, so I'm so glad that they're actually willing to do so. And what we really want to do here is this. Eventually, hopefully, we can form an interest group. We have started a Facebook group, and to really ask each other questions, to really share experience. Hopefully, you can join in this group after this webinar, and hopefully we can actually get more people to be in, so that, because I realized there's so many things. Then people asking me like, why Thailand, why not Malaysia, why Malaysia, not Australia? So we decided that just form this group first, and hopefully you can share information with one another. So that's how all this started. Okay, so anyway, long story short, I think it's time for me to actually get both the gentlemen to come in and share. They have been very nice. They have been sharing a series of topics already. So in fact, this is for Kenny will be the 4th session, right, Kenny? This will be your 4th session.
Yes, my 4th session.
4th session. And of course, Joseph joined in. I think Joseph, this is your 2nd round. And we hope to do a few more to really educate more people, including myself, in overseas investing.
Sure.
Okay. Just one last admin point before we get the gentleman to take over. Also, those on Facebook Live, do us a favor. Please help us to click on the share button, so that more people can benefit from the information. I went through the slides, very good. I think the information that personally I have been benefiting. So please help us to click on the share button. Okay, if not, Joseph, can I just trouble you to share the slides, please?
Oh yes, sure.
Okay, and I have just a request for the remotes.
All right, go ahead, Yiming.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so so we have actually looked at quite a few things, the standard one whereby capital gain, rental yield, which country to choose. We have actually talked about that in our previous webinars. So if you're actually interested, so you can actually look at, we also have been doing Facebook Live. So if you're interested, you can actually go to my Facebook page and try to look for the previous videos. So we've done that. Today, we actually want to dive one step deeper. We want to actually look at some of the concerns that are often overlooked when people are buying properties, overseas properties. So there are some people who just buy, how they buy is this, someone actually just bring the property to Singapore, say this is good. And they just say, trust me, okay, I trust you, just buy. Okay, but then there's so many other issues. So I'll leave the gentleman to talk about these 3 issues. Not so straightforward, especially if you're like me, thinking of eventually want to use that as a retirement home. A lot of things to actually look at. So let me just introduce the gentleman. Before I do so, a standard disclaimer. We are here on education purpose. We are definitely not here to sell anything. So trust me, at the end of the seminar, you won't be like seeing me or pulling out a list of properties to sell you. No, that's not going to happen. Okay, so we are just on education. We just want to share knowledge. And along the way, we may mention some properties, some countries just for illustration. Okay, definitely not any tips or any recommendations. So please make money, be happy, lose money, don't score us. That's what it says here. And all the slides is actually IP, all rights reserved. So if you think that the slides are good, please seek permission from the speakers, both Kenny and Joseph, if you actually want to reuse the slides. Okay, let me introduce the 2 gentlemen. Okay, sorry, okay, a bit too fast. First, Joseph, Joseph, you want to give a wave?
Yes, hi. Hi, everyone.
Okay, I'm actually, in fact, Joseph, I think I know him for close to 10 years,
Yes.
Okay, 8 years. I think, no, sorry, 10 years. 10 years.
10 years,
I remember I met you when I actually went to do talks at ERA.
Correct.
10 years already. Then we even went down to China together, remember?
Yes.
Yeah. So Joseph is someone I respect in terms of overseas properties. So in fact, I've attended numerous talks by him on overseas properties. One thing that really inch into my mind here is this, like for example, a lot of people do overseas property. One factor they always forget is about tax. And tax can eat up all your capital gain. Okay, don't get me wrong. Joseph doesn't teach you tax evasion. No. No, Joseph, don't do that.
Then I'll be in trouble.
But of course, is what he actually shared is, it makes sense to do some tax planning.
Yes.
Okay, tax planning, proper tax planning. Okay, everything legal, definitely. And you can really save a lot of money. So overseas property, the tax is actually quite scary. Like personally, I was with CapitaLand before, CapitaLand based in China. Okay, at that point in time, now I'm not too sure. When I was there, was 03 to 05. So there's actually this thing called land appreciation tax, which is a percentage based on your selling price, not your profit. Based on your selling price. So basically, you can wipe out all your profits. So that is one thing that I actually learned from Joseph. And I'm so glad that he's willing to come back in again and share more. And of course, Joseph, he has been a realtor, as you can see here, since 1994. So even though this picture look young, but he got white hair, he just died back. So he has brokered and structured more than 500 deals, okay, residential, commercial for both local and overseas real estate market. Okay, and of course, he's also a certified international property specialist. Okay, so Kenny, I know him very longer. We play volley together. Since primary school days, we play volley together. Yeah. So of course, as fate allows, we actually come back here again. So Kenny is someone who is, he's not in the real estate industry, but he has vast experience, as a property investor himself. So this is actually quite interesting. We have someone like, for example, Joseph, who actually doing professionally. Joseph can see from both the sales and the buy side. And Kenny is actually focused on the buy side. So again, their thinking is actually very different. And he is actually experienced, he have actually bought and sold, right? Bought and sold properties in UK or Australia, come here. UK. And you are still having your Australia one?
I have the Australia one, yes.
Australia one, and of course he has quite a bit of properties in Asia as well. So again, learn a lot from him. Very interesting stories. Okay, and yeah, and it's always nice to talk to him. You can see he will always buy us a nice dinner, you know, that we can actually share. So anyway, I'll let these two gentlemen to talk a bit more. Okay, so once again, those on Facebook, please help us to share. And with that, Kenny, can I pass the stage to you, please?
Let me request remote. Just a moment.
Okay. So once again, today the topic is on 3 key concerns that you should be looking at before you buy. And yes, Kenny, the stage is yours.
Yes. Okay. Hang on. Just let me.
You want to try again, Kenny? Okay.
Okay. Yes,
Okay.
I have it now.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Emin, for introducing us and hosting this session for us to share. And I hope everyone has a good dinner before joining us. And this is our joint session, second time. 2 weeks ago, we have a joint session, first time. And for those who attended the first session and now rejoining us back again, thank you for your support for that. Now, before we start the proper, I'd just like to ask Joseph a question. Joseph, yes. Right, no, we are all born in Singapore and we live here substantially for a large part of our life, right? So, yes. In your opinion, is Singapore generally a safe country to live in?
Oh yes, Singapore is very safe. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, yes.
Okay,
go ahead.
Great. Yeah. Okay, Singapore is safe, definitely. Yeah, our government has done a great job. I mean, very few countries in the world that you can experience that kind of example. Let's say your children, right, goes out in the even after midnight, 2-3 a.m. They will still be very safe on the street. Not many countries you can enjoy that.
Yes, I agree totally. Now, even for myself, right, my time, I do not experience any events like riots or curfews to be imposed on us. I do not experience food or water rations. These are stories that I heard from my grandparents and also maybe my mom when she was a young child. This is what we have gone through in the past. But right now, Singapore, we have progressed well and it's a safe country to stay in. Now, maybe I also like to get some participation from the audience. In your opinion, maybe the audience can use the group chat functions, all right? Maybe can share with us what would be your country of choice if you were to choose to live overseas? Is there any response? Joseph, do you see any response coming? Because my screen I couldn't see.
Yeah, I can't see. So
okay, someone Ling said Australia, New Zealand. Yobi said Australia.
Right,
so of course, those on the Facebook, please join as well. Which country do you think is actually quite safe or is actually nice for us to stay in there?
Right. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for the response. Now that brings me to the next point, right? Right. Now, the GPI, the Global Peace Index, this is a measurement of the peace and political stability of the countries that we reside in. Now, for those of you who have selected countries that falls within the top 3 regions, Europe, North America, Asia Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, of course, it falls under the 3rd region, Asia Pacific. Then congratulations, you have good foresight to select a country that is having a very good, very conducive living conditions, right? Now, how do we read this table? This GPI index is scored from 1 to 2.5. Now, the score of 2.5, the higher the score, the less peaceful it is, all right? The higher the score, the less peaceful it is, right? So you can see the top 3 regions, Europe, North America, and Asia Pacific, is slightly below 2 and below, right? And this index is comprising of a few measurement indicators, for example, the government's political stability, the government's support for business development, for investors, the social orderly orderliness and the crime rates level of the country, right? So these are the results of the three regions. Now, again, Joseph, can I ask you another question?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So if you ever want to consider getting a second home for retirement, right? Will the proximity be of a consideration for you? Proximity to Singapore?
Yes, to me, I think yes. I would choose a country that is closer. I say this because this is my own preference, right?
Right, understand.
Yeah, because it's also depend on people that join us tonight. It depends on where eventually you like to. Let's say we say choosing a second overseas as your holiday home or as your retirement home. Okay, then of course is very much individual preference.
Correct. Yeah, and I totally agree on that. So let's say even for myself, right, if I were to get a second home for retirement or to stay in the country for an extended period, I would want to choose a country that is closer to Singapore, my home country, so that because yes, I or my family may shift over, but my extended family, my relatives, my friends, they are all still in Singapore. I would want to, as far as possible and as often as possible, fly back to Singapore to visit them, and also maybe for them to fly over and visit me, right? So now let's drill down to the specific regions. Let's say Asia Pacific is where we are. Right. So we have here Singapore and a few of the neighboring countries, and I also included two countries in the Pacific region, Australia and New Zealand. Now, this chart has two data over here, right? The green color vertical bar shows the score, the GPI score, as explained in the previous slides. So as I mentioned earlier, the higher the score, the less peaceful it is. Now, Singapore, if you look at Singapore, we score around 1.3, 1.35, right? And of course, just looking at the score itself, we can see actually outside of Singapore, there are countries that offers similar conducive living conditions, safe, stable government, very safe environment, habitable conditions. For example, closer to us, like Malaysia, slightly above 1.5, right? And the Pacific region, Australia, very close to us, right? This in terms of scoring. And of course, the other axis is showing the blue dots. They're showing the ranking of the countries in the GPI table out of 163 countries. Now, Singapore is ranked number 7th. And of course, those countries that is comparable to us, again, Malaysia 20, Australia 13. All these are countries considerably safe for us to shift over. But of course, I like to reiterate, we are not making any specific recommendations. We are just raising examples using the data available, all right? So,
sure.
Now, again, maybe I get some, I'd like to ask the audience a question. For us who would like to get a residency, a PR in another country, what are the ways that you guys are aware of? Maybe just type in the group chat, anything that come into your mind, or maybe I can start off first. If I were a student studying in an overseas country, one of the ways that I could get a PR is at the end of my education, I can choose to remain in that country, find a job there, work, spend a few years there, fulfill the requirements, the immigration requirements, and then get a PR. So that is one of the ways, right? Is there any other ways that the audience can maybe share with? Joseph, is there any response coming in? Because I don't seem to see from my side.
Can't see. Probably I need Yiming's. We need Yiming's help.
Right.
No response yet. No response yet.
Okay, no problem. No problem. We'll just go ahead with that. Now, apart from, of course, conventionally, right? The most common method is to seek an employment in that country and then over time apply for PR. So that is very conventional method. There are other avenues as an investor, and we're talking about investment visas. So I'll talk more on two of the advanced economy countries, Australia and New Zealand. And later on, I'll pass the controls back to Joseph, who will share more on 2 other countries in the region, right? So right now we have visa systems. For Australia, we have the Business Innovation and Investment Visa. And for New Zealand, the Investor Visa system. So how does this work? For Australia, the Business Innovation and Investment Visa, right, is divided into 5 streams, they call it. And this visa is a professional visa. So what happened is, categorizingly, the investor will have to put in an investment amount for a acceptable range of investment products, and of course to fulfill the supplementary conditions of that stream. And once you have fulfilled that, you have to hold the investment for a specific period of time. Once that's done, the permanent visa of the same stream will be granted to you. And with the permanent visa, the investor can then apply for the PR. And of course, with the PR, eventually it may turn to a citizenship. Now, Joseph, again, like to tap onto your knowledge.
Yes, we share.
Yes, this is for Australia, right? And I believe we all know Australia is a very popular place for investors, especially those from mainland China, the Chinese buyers. And
Yes.
From what you know, what is the most common stream that the mainland Chinese would use to get the investment visa?
Okay. Well, other than physically investing in businesses in Australia, which will lead to applying a permanent resident visa.
Right.
The other very common one, in fact, it topped of all the visas, it topped the list is the significant investor visa.
Yes, right? That's right.
Yeah. So that one, in fact, the Chinese have been topping the list. All right. And their favorite, guess where is their favorite destination in Australia?
If I were to make a guess, I would think it's probably either Melbourne, Sydney.
You're right. Okay, you got it right. Melbourne is in fact, Melbourne and Sydney, right, receive the most Chinese applications for significant investment visa.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and the SIV, as they call it, is actually the third item, the significant investor stream. Now, what happened is the investors, they'll put in an amount of money, in this case is 5 million, into investment products. Investment products the acceptable ones would be either you invest in a local business over there, or you start a new business, or you invest in financial tools that offered by the country. And to hold the investment for a specific period of time, you have up to 4 years for each of these categories to fulfill that. And if you, again, fulfill the other supplementary conditions, then you'll be granted a permanent visa of the same stream. And with that, you can proceed on to your PR applications and maybe the citizenship. And for New Zealand, let's have a look at New Zealand. New Zealand has 2 categories, the investors and investor plus. In principle, it's the same as the Australian ones. Typically, it's also investment of the acceptable nature to the New Zealand government. But of course, the difference is between the 2 categories, the quantum. The lower quantum being a 3 million investment, hold it for 4 years. And the other one which has a higher quantum of 10 million, and you have to hold it for 3 years. Now, of course, the lower quantum, 3 million, there is a age limit. So if you say you want to get seek a retirement home in New Zealand and you are beyond age of 65, then the other possible options will be the investor plus, which you need to sink in more money. And for the acceptable investments in this case would be, again, similar to Australia's, would be investing in their businesses, local businesses over there, or in financial tools and products. If you want to invest in real estate, it's also possible, but the real estate that you invest in will not be for self-stay. It has to be residential real estate projects that you developed for the residents over there. Or you can also invest in commercial properties as part of the real estate investments. So all this, as long as you hold the investments for the specific time frame, and then you'll be granted the relevant visas, and subsequently you can apply for the PRs and citizenships. So this is for Australia and New Zealand, these are the investor paths or avenues apart from the conventional approach of seeking employment pass, seeking an employment visa, and work your time there to earn the PRs, right? So for Australia and New Zealand, this is what I can share, a brief of that. And maybe for now, can I pass the controls back to Joseph to share more on the 2 other countries and regions and their other investment channels? Joseph, back to you.
Thanks, Kenny. It's a great sharing on your side. Kenny, I have a question before I share another 2 countries.
Sure.
Now, for both the Australia and New Zealand, the long-term visa, right? Or rather leading to a resident, right? Leading to a residency, a permanent residency status. Because most of the criteria, you have stated the minimum investment size. That means the amount of money that you need to put in.
Right.
Okay. Does this amount of money that the applicants put in, right, to apply for the visa, can it be include the component of the real estate value?
As far as I know, the real estate value, as in the real estate that you purchase for your own self.
Can it be part of the investment value?
As far as I know, you can't.
Yeah. Okay.
Can't. Is this whatever amount that is stated here is purely for investment purposes that generate a profit, not for self-stay at the end of the day. Yeah.
Okay, got you. And also, remember just now we talked about the significant investment visa,
yes,
which is very popular among the Chinese.
Yes, that's right.
Coming over to Australia. I think one of the reason for this popularity is that because this offer a category of application where it's more straightforward, which they do not have to invest in like any businesses that we mentioned earlier.
Yes, correct. Yes.
What they do is that if I'm not wrong, they invest into some government-approved funds.
Funds, yeah, correct, yeah.
For startup or for some, for some businesses.
Correct, yeah, correct. That's one of the channels available for the SIV channels.
Correct. I think the other reason why Australia is a favorite destination to the Chinese also because they send their kids over to Australia for studies.
Oh yes, it is a very popular country. I think even Singaporeans, we have a lot of parents who send their children to Australia to study for their tertiary education.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Kenny. Okay, I shall take over now.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Now, Kenny has shared the traditionally Australia and New Zealand. And we all know Australia and New Zealand, mainly we term them as the more on the Western side, right? If you like a little bit of the Western culture. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share 2 countries with you, which you can also apply long-term visa, which is closer to our culture. Okay. So this happened in Asia itself, and it's none other than 2 of our very close ASEAN neighbors. Okay, so let me just go to the slide. Okay, so these 2 countries, they offer these 2 visas. Probably some of you have heard it, some of you might not have heard it. Like for Malaysia, they have the MM2H, okay, which is Malaysia, my second home. Kenny, are you aware that the MM2H is also very popular among the Chinese?
Well, you mean among the mainland Chinese?
Yes.
Oh, to be honest, I don't.
Okay.
I do notice a lot of mainland Chinese buyers buying into Malaysia homes.
Okay. So are you aware that they are currently very big developers, doing service apartment, developing condominiums in this Iskandar?
Oh, is it? Oh, that I didn't know about that.
Okay. So I heard their packages also include, helping, beside helping their own Chinese people, right, to own a home in Malaysia. The developer also helped them to apply for this MM2H.
Oh, the developer is doing that for them. It's just it's a package service, you're saying?
Correct, it's a package service. So it's quite well receiving, right, to date. And in fact, statistically, again, Chinese top the list for this visa category applications.
Wow.
So the other one would be Thailand, all right? And Kenny, do you go to Thailand very often?
I don't, but I've been to Thailand before and I enjoy the food there. I think because Malaysia and Thailand culturally is closer to us.
Yeah.
And also food dietary wise is we are very much used to the Asian food. Unless of course some of us who prefer the Ang Moh ones can explore other countries. But yes, Malaysia and Thailand is closer to home, and Malaysia is just next door. And I think as we have discussed earlier, if we want to choose a second home, proximity to to our own home country is also one of the important factors.
Oh, of course, of course. Thanks for bringing up that. Because you brought up that, right? I have something to mention about the Johor Bahru. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Because recently they resumed the work for the RTS link, right?
Oh, yes, yes, yeah.
Between Woodland North and Johor Bahru, Bukit Jaga. All right. These two terminals will start operating in 2026. And then they will start commute about 10,000 commuters per hour either way, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So I think when that happens, all right, it will provide even greater connectivity and convenience, right?
Yes.
It also ease the traffic congestions in the causeway, along the causeway.
Yeah, I believe there will be a lot of goods and services exchange between the two places, Johor and Singapore, once this RTS link is up.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows? By then, 2026, come 2026, MM2H application may shoot up the roof.
Maybe I'll be one of them also.
Oh, I'm seriously thinking of it also.
Okay. So maybe share with us more on these two.
Sure. Okay. What is a MM2H visa? Okay, what has MM2H has got to offer? All right. So basically, it's a 10 years visa, and Malaysia is very welcoming. So it doesn't matter that we are above 50 or below 50, because they have two schemes for us. All right, for this category of visa. Okay, if we are below 50, so what happened is that we just need to prove that our income is ringgit 10,000. Ringgit 10,000, Kenny, that's roughly how much Sing?
3,000.
Yeah, then I think a lot of people can qualify, right? Can show
yes.
proof. Right?
Yes.
Okay. And then also just to show proof that you have this amount of money, all right, just to show at application stage, which is ringgit 500,000 if you are below 50, and 350,000 ringgit if you're above 50 years old. So 500,000, I guess, is below 170,000 Sing, Kenny?
Yeah, based on today's exchange rate,
yeah, sure. Around 3.33, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I think many of us can show that lah. Yeah. If not, then we'll just ask our relative, hey, come, put all the money together.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what happened after approval? Now the qualification is pretty straightforward. Okay. I want to qualify that I will not mention all the fees, because the application fees are very minor. Okay, more important thing is the major qualifications. Okay?
Right.
Now, upon approval, we have to place a fixed deposit. Okay, now the fixed deposit is 300,000 ringgit. We have to place in a local bank in Malaysia. Okay, now what happened is this is below 50. Now, if you are above 50 years old, you only required to put a fixed D of 150,000 ringgit.
Oh, half the requirement.
Yeah, again, 150,000 ringgit. Wow, how much is that?
less than 50K, I think.
Yeah, it's less than that, correct? Probably about about 50K, there about, yeah. Okay, and the interesting part is that after on the second year, after placing the deposit, you can actually withdraw. Okay, you can withdraw if you're under 50 years old, you can withdraw half of your 300,000 ringgit and just maintain 150,000 ringgit throughout. Okay, throughout your 10-year visa period. Now, if we are above 50, then we just maintain 100,000 ringgit. Okay, in the bank FD. So that's about it. It's very straightforward.
Yeah, and I think going through this, I think you after the second year, it can free up some funds for us to spend.
Correct. And I think one of the attraction is that because of our exchange rate, do you agree?
Yes, yes. Because comparatively, Sing dollar is stronger.
Okay.
So I think in terms of purchasing power, I think we every Sing dollar we can have buy more of their goods and services when we're over the other side.
Correct. Every Sing dollar, every one Sing dollar, we have 3 times the buying power, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now let me move on to Thailand. Thailand people, they are very polite. Everywhere you go, they tell you crab or carp, crab here. So, okay, what Thailand has got to offer? Thailand is very interesting. Thailand, we have to reach our golden age. I don't know,
Yes.
Kenny, what is your golden age?
Well, I've not reached this age yet, so
Okay, yeah, definitely you look much younger. Okay, so okay, Thailand only issue long-term stay visa or retirement visa. Okay, if we reach the age of 50. All right, at the point of application for this long-term visa, we have to be age 50 years old. Now, I think because of the ties, the close relationship with Thailand and Singapore, in fact, they kind of give us a certain privilege when you come to this long-term stay visa application. Now, yes, a check with the Royal Thai embassies, right? Yeah. So long as we are Singapore citizen and Singapore permanent residents, okay, we can apply this long-term stay or retirement visa, and the qualification is a special one. All right, very different from other countries. What we need to do is to have a deposit in the bank. All right, again, in a Thai bank, right, 800,000 baht. Okay, 800,000 baht. Today exchange rate with the Thai baht is equivalent to Sing dollar 35,200.
35. Okay, it is something that is most of us will be able to acquire. Yeah.
Okay, let me qualify again. Now, this deposit doesn't need to be in a Thai bank. It can be in a Singapore bank, because why? The maximum stay, long-term stay visa, all right, is it will be granted on a maximum of 10 years, but it's renewable on a yearly basis.
On the OA, the non-immigration OA. Yeah.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, because it's a visa OA type. So basically, it's for Singaporean and Singapore permanent resident, right? Is renewable on a yearly basis.
I see.
Okay, so that also meaning the qualification, the amount of deposit that we need to have is much lower. Okay, again, only for Singaporean and Singapore permanent resident. Okay. So what about if if you want to put in more? Yeah, they won't stop you lah. Okay, you can join other country and put in more. So the next one is what we call a non-immigrant visa OX. So basically it's the same. It's still a maximum of 10 years long stay retirement visa. Right. Same thing, at a point of application, we have to be age 50 years old. But the deposit now is higher, right? You notice now is 3 million baht. Okay. Yeah. And I converted it. SGD is about 132,000. I think still is affordable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's possible. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And they are so flexible. Okay. The Thai government are so flexible. Now, even if you don't want to come out with 132,000 Singapore dollar, right? You can also come out half of it. That means a Sing dollar 79,200, but you must prove that you have a minimum income of 52,800 per year. Per year. So let's make it 60,000 per year. Meaning what? Every month we just need to have an income of
5,000. Yeah, about 5,000. Yeah,
about 5,000. Okay, so that also form the second qualification, the all qualification, right? And so what we need to do is that we need to keep this money in a local Thai bank. Now cannot be Singapore. This one you have to keep in a Thai bank. But however, we can withdraw after 1 year. Okay, but not all cannot draw all. Okay, so yeah, and we have to maintain 66,000 equivalent to Sing dollar 66,000 in the Thai bank as a form of FD. right, throughout this 10-year stay in Thailand.
Oh, I
Okay,
see.
and they have one more last qualification, okay, which we have to fulfill, is that we need to have a medical insurance, okay, for outpatient of not less than 40,000 baht, and then for inpatient, an insurance coverage of not less than 400,000 baht.
Right.
Okay. So can you see that these two group of visa, right? One from MM2H Malaysia and one from Thailand. They are pretty very straightforward.
Yes, it's very simple, and the requirements, the criteria are also something that is very easy to achieve. Now, I have one question on these two visas for both countries.
Yes, Kenny.
For both the MM2H and also the Thailand's OX and OA visas, is stated here is for 10 years. So what happens after 10 years?
Good question. All right. In fact, I have not checked with the authority, but
Okay.
while I read through their requirement and conditions,
Right.
so okay, they grant you a maximum of 10 years. Now, because whether in Malaysia or in Thailand we can only apply at the age of 50. Now,
Yes.
assuming we take Thailand, all right, at 50 we apply. 10 years later, I'm 60 already, right?
Yeah.
So what do? I already qualified based on the minimum qualification of age of 50. But
That's right. Yeah.
10 years later, I'm 60. So I just apply again. No? Right. So long as I have a good record, I behave myself in in the country of residence. I think they will not they will not approve my applications.
Yes,
Right.
and I believe so. Yeah, because and also if for the first 10 years we have fulfilled all the conditions, including the monetary deposits requirement,
Yes.
the subsequent renewal or reapplications, I believe it will be a sure pass.
Sure. And while talking about this, right, came into my mind, for the two visas that you mentioned earlier, right, for Australia and New Zealand,
right?
How do we go about it to apply?
Okay, this one for the Australia ones is we have to contact. I think we have to get in touch with the Austrade, the agents, yeah, and also of course that will probably one of the visas requirement will lead us to the Austrade, because some of the visas for Australia you need the nominations by
sponsored by the state.
Sponsored by the states, yeah.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. So most of the time for Australia and New Zealand, we probably have to go through an agencies.
Yeah.
The agencies to apply, so it will be easier. And also we need a state sponsorship.
Yeah, correct.
The state has to sponsor us, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and for this Malaysia and Thailand, interesting. Okay. In fact they have an official website for you to do online.
Wow.
Okay.
It's very easy.
Correct. Malaysia, of course, if you do online, you have to do a small guarantor deposit. But if you go to an agency, you doesn't have to.
Oh.
Okay, for Malaysia, all right. But of course, agency they will charge you a small fees, all right.
Okay.
Now for Thailand, okay, even very interesting. They have online application portal for you to do so. There's nothing mentioned about agency. Okay.
Oh, it's like a self-service.
Yeah, self-service. All right, you just complete the forms and then you submit in. There you go. All right, you just follow their instruction to get the in principle approval, and thereafter you just perform what is necessary. All right, to get the final approval of the long-term visa.
Yeah, well, that sounds very easy. Very straightforward.
Correct. I think all this make it easier. All right, whether for your traditional market or for the frontier market or for our closer to us, the ASEAN countries, really is easy. All right, it's really easy because a lot of time, because we have discussed, right? Why one of the reasons why tonight we share this is because a lot of time, people invest in property. All right, didn't really notice about this segment on the application for a long-term stay, because you never know, right? One day you own your investment property, okay, you may want to use it as a retirement home.
Yeah, but then when we want to do that, we may have overlooked some of the requirements in order for us to stay long-term in that country.
Correct. And also, you gel in with our title tonight, right? The topic that we are sharing tonight. Even though, right, we are looking as a second investment property overseas, eventually we want to stay. There are concerns that we have to look into.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, let me just move on to the key concern number 3. All right, because we promised everyone, right, in
Yes.
here tonight that we have to share at least 3 concerns, right?
3 concerns, yeah.
Okay. So, can you afford to stay there for long term? Kenny, what's your thought before I flash?
Yeah, for long-term stay, I think there are considerations like because our income in Singapore is in Sing dollar, and the other country is in a different currency. So whether our Sing dollar is able allow us to able to spend the affordability is there at the other country. So FX is one of the considerations, right? So what will be the other considerations that we should look into?
Okay, thanks for sharing that. I think you are very close to what I'm going to flash. Basically, we are looking at the FX risk as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, there are other things that we have discussed, correct?
Yes.
We talk about like
housing prices and
property prices as well.
property prices, yes,
right?
correct.
Yeah, because if you want to own overseas property, we also got to be certain that we are entering at the right price level.
Yes, that's right.
And the other factor that we share, some concern there is like what property, you know, is suitable for us.
What type of properties is suitable
Yes.
for us?
Yeah, what type of properties, correct? Is more suitable for us to do investment and later become an investment, a retirement home. Okay.
Yes, that's right.
Also, we also discussed about once we decided to buy a second home overseas, is like because normally the country is so big, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, like which state, you know, which
Yes.
which city should we go to, or even which precinct, right, should we go to, is also some concern that we need to address.
Yes, exactly. Like I'll just raise some example, right? Because like for example, Australia, the more so-called favorite popular cities we've mentioned earlier, Melbourne, Sydney.
Yeah.
But both of these cities they are located in different states. Sydney is in New South Wales.
Yes.
Melbourne is in Victoria.
Yes.
And for foreign buyers, I think the recent news is that the stamp duty has been increased, has rise for foreign buyers, and it's different rates in the 2 states. So I think New South Wales is raised to 8%, and Victoria is up to 7%, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
There are these changes in different states, so that may affect where your locations of choice.
True. The additional stamp duty is also a consideration, right, when we talk about overseas acquisition. But I mean, just a joke aside, nothing comparable to Singapore lah.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, in terms of ABSD. Okay, let me just flash. Okay, one of the concerns that we want to actually address here tonight is currency exchange and the sales tax rate. All right, because we say whether we can afford it, oftentimes that we overlook. Like certain cities in the world, I'm just being a little bit over exaggerate here a little bit, but these are true facts and data. So if you look at the sales tax, because Singapore, we have also sales tax, right, Kenny?
Yes, we do. GST, right?
Yeah, GST. And our GST is 7%, Timo.
Currently 7%.
Yeah, 7%. You look at Bhutan is 50%.
Wow.
But of course, all these countries we will not go to, correct?
Yeah.
But I think Australia is about 10%. Yeah, Australia, New Zealand, I think is sales tax is about 10%.
Yeah.
Right, and so these are facts that we need to consider also, because why, when we settle down in another country for a long-term stay, right, we become consumers also.
Yes, and
right?
all these expenses.
Correct. So we've got consumers. So sales tax is also one of the things that we need to look into. And beside that, like earlier you mentioned, which I agree with you totally, is because we are using Sing dollar.
Yes.
All right. So we want to go to a country, hopefully that our dollar is on par or we have 2 to 3 times of buying power.
Yes, yes.
Right? Yeah. So certainly, the pounds are heavy, right?
Oh yeah, pound is traditionally has been very heavy.
The pounds are heavy. Yeah. So, but I'm not saying that it's not good. But I think UK, you want to take permanent residency is slightly tougher.
Yeah, we will work a lot harder.
Yeah, gonna work a lot harder. So what we want to share some concern here will be you also want to match your currency lah. Okay, when you look at overseas property investments. Okay. Yeah. So with this, I think very much we have already shared all the 3 concerns, right?
Yes, I think so. Unless there's some questions for us.
Yeah. Yiming, do you have any question for us?
Thank you so much, gentlemen. There are actually some questions, but maybe we just talk about the interest group first, then I open the floor to the questions. Okay. So in that case, I really thank you so much, both gentlemen. If you can, for those who are actually listening in, do me a favor. Please help me to just type the clap button, and of course, those on Facebook, please help me to give a like to these 2 gentlemen. Okay, so as I mentioned, what we really want here is just to form an interest group. So we are not here to sell anything. We are definitely not here to sell properties. But we realize that, properties, there's actually a lot of things to look at. And frankly, personally, like I said, I'm also looking for resources to make sure I invest properly. And so far, all those that I've come across is they already tell me what property to buy and just ask me to buy that particular property. No, that's not what I want. I want to make sure I'm properly educated, I have the right information, and so that's why we just want to start this interest group, whereby we just pull in people. All of you probably have certain things to share as well, and just share information with one another. Okay, so really like to invite you to just join us. We don't know what's the best way to get a group together, so we actually started off with the Facebook group. So if you can, just scan in, or either that, just click on the link to join interest group. We will have more discussions over there. So Joseph and Kenny has very kindly agreed to just do posts very often, and we can actually learn more from these 2 gentlemen. Okay, so once again, strongly urge you to just join the interest group, and hopefully we can expand this and more people to share ideas, and we can learn more from each other. Okay, before we go, of course, I'm not going to let these 2 gentlemen go so easy. If you have any questions, please type in the group chat right now. And for those on the Facebook chat, feel free to type in questions at the comments. I'll be actually monitoring as well, so that we can ask them a few questions before we go. Okay, now there's actually some questions here. So there's this question from Ling Si. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if it's a he or she. He actually mentioned that, is there any chance to have a deal to co-invest together a few others? What are your thoughts?
Okay.
Do co-investment.
Yeah, maybe I can take this question.
Sure, please. Yeah.
Okay. Co-investment investment in overseas property is always possible. All right, it's always possible. Okay, we can always use a vehicle. All right, register a company, so all the property will purchase under the company. Okay, and by doing this, it also lower our entry money, all right, that is required, or entry funds. And it's great for this way of investing into overseas property is great for people, right, who has limited fund. Okay, but again, want to enter the overseas property market early, all right, as to take advantage, of the development phase, because some of the frontier countries, they are now in the development phase with an annual economic GDP about 7% growth, which is quite fast. But maybe, of course, now during the pandemic, it probably has dropped. But then it's still a fast-growing country. So this is how we can do so. But of course, again, caveat emptor, meaning what? If you want to do group investment, the best is that you know each other lah. That means among your friends, or among relatives, you do so, right? And it's good also to set out the terms correctly. Okay, yeah.
Thank you so much, Joseph. So of course, as in everything in life, high risk, high return. So there is also certain risks involved in terms of co-investment. One of the very classic case here is this, what I heard, there's three good friends actually co-invest to buy property. Everything is good. Then unfortunately, one of them passed on. And of course, the wife took over the share. And the wife actually just want to pull out immediately. And at the point in time, the property is not a very good time to sell. And yeah, things like this do happen.
Can I add,
please.
In this kind of a co-investment setup, right? So it's good to spell out everything clearly.
Yes.
In the company shareholder agreement.
Yes.
All right. So get a lawyer to do up. It doesn't cost you a lot, but then it will save you a lot of headache at the end of the day.
Correct.
Joseph.
Sorry, go ahead.
So for, let's say if we do a co-investment and we set a company to do that, is there any tax benefit for that?
Tax benefit will depend on the particular countries that we are investing in. But I don't see apparently a lot of a big tax benefit unless you're talking about very big investment. All right, you're buying buildings and all this. Then obviously using a company vehicle does have some tax benefits.
Savings here and there.
Correct.
Right, understand. Right. Thank you.
Yeah, totally agree with you, Joseph. So for those who are there on co-invest, this kind of legal fees cannot save one.
Yes.
Don't save all these legal fees. Save a few 1,000-2,000. Other Indian don't have friends, don't have relatives.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So thanks for adding it. Okay. There's someone actually made this comment, LWY, saying that MM2H is effectively terminated. I don't know whether you want to...
Sure. Let me just add on that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No, I don't think MM2H is effectively terminated because we still have the link. The link is still operational, and the link, is official, and you can actually submit your application online.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So
and there are also various agencies in Malaysia is still pushing the MM2H.
Okay, so this LWY, if you want to add on your questions, feel free to type in.
Yeah.
If you like, you can turn on the mic. We can have a discussion. Like I said, we are not here trying to sell anything. So feel free, if you want, you can turn on and discuss. Okay, there's actually some questions on the Facebook from Jolene Tang. Which states in Malaysia is most conducive for Chinese, Singaporean Chinese to buy first, to invest, and then retire in?
Okay. Okay, so I will take this question again.
Yeah.
Okay, interestingly, there are three states, three states in Malaysia, the whole of Malaysia. Okay, that if you want to retire to, again, depend on your preference. Okay, let's say you're this Chinese friend, they prefer to have more Chinese.
No, Singaporean Chinese, not
okay.
China Chinese.
Singaporean Chinese, okay.
Yeah.
Singaporean Chinese, sorry. Let me qualify again. Now, Singaporean Chinese, if they prefer to go to a state that have more Chinese, then I think Penang, all right? Penang is a great place to go, all right? A great state to go. If not, if let's say they still like, they want to travel between, okay, Malaysia and Singapore, okay, very often, then I think naturally JB, Johor Bahru or Iskandar, Zone A and Zone B is an ideal locations, okay? And if you like capital city, then of course you go to KL, okay? And of course, recently there are also some fair interest in Malacca. All right, people also pick Malacca as a retirement place, a retirement home. So I hope I answer your question, because end of the day is still preference. All right, Malaysia got so many states, right? But these are the three that I mentioned, or the four locations that I mentioned. In Malaysia, they are usually the more preference one.
My personal preference is Penang.
You're right.
My personal preference is Penang. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. Number one, especially from a context of Singaporean Chinese, it's like when I go there, you don't feel like it's Malaysia. I think that, for example, if you're KL, you still feel that the Chinese are minority. But in Penang, it's actually very obvious, especially a town area. It's actually the Chinese the Chinese presence is actually definitely more there. Then or if you look at the Gurney Drive, there's a lot of condos at the Gurney Drive. We'll look at the sea. Of course, there was one time there was a flood lah. But then actually a lot of people say that the media sort of overplayed it. It's not that bad lah. Yes, some places got affected, but it's not like the whole Penang is sunk or something like that. And one thing very interesting about Penang, so Penang actually also now doing medical tourism.
Yes.
So in fact, they have some of the brand name hospital down there. I think is it Gleneagles? Yeah.
Gleneagles, yes.
I believe it's Gleneagles. Yeah.
Gleneagles is also in Iskandar.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So apparently it's 1/3 of the cost. Some people say that the doctors are not as good as Singapore. That one I don't agree lah. Come on. But then the equipment wise actually is quite on par if I'm not wrong.
I think if you go under the brand of Gleneagles,
you cannot get too wrong lah.
Can't get too wrong. Right, it should be pretty safe.
Yeah. I mean, I have friends. I have Penang friends who actually went through and yeah, it's quite good. Of course, nice food, and the best is there's airport.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So if you ask me, Malaysia is one thing. Yeah.
Direct flight.
Like
yeah. Direct flight. Yeah. Even JB also they got airport. Right. Senai Airport.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you technically can fly direct.
Yeah. And Penang, if you actually want to save a bit of money, you don't stay on the island side you stay on the other end. I don't know what is it called. Because Penang is actually two parts, right? One is on the island.
Georgetown and Butterworth, is it?
Butterworth. Yeah. Also Butterworth, the price is a lot cheaper.
Anyway. Okay. If you want to stay in Penang, right? You want to invest in property in Penang. Penang has got two thresholds. One is the 1 million ringgit. Okay. The other one I think is 3 million. If you buy their landed property, right, as a foreigner.
Okay. Looks like there's actually a few comments saying that MM2H is temporarily suspended, but in any case, we can actually check it out.
Correct. So we can still verify, not to worry.
We can verify that. Actually, there are someone sharing a news article saying it's temporarily suspended. Okay, but we can verify that. But if you ask me, long-term wise, it doesn't make sense for them to suspend. I know there was some issue. Of course, now we know that the political side there's some issues. But
it will come back lah.
You will come back lah. Have to come back lah.
If the scheme is bringing also gives benefit to the Malaysian economy.
Precisely.
No reason to freeze it.
I think there's no government who want to turn away money lah. Okay. Yeah. So like for example, even Singapore last time, you can sort of like, invest to get certain residency. So yes, it was taken over, but it's just changed different form lah. Okay. There's a question about selling from Jolene again. Thanks, Jolene, for the question.
Okay.
It's always easy to buy. What about selling and liquidating? Would that be a concern?
Kenny, you want to take this question first?
What's the question again?
So basically it's about selling. Is it easy to sell or will selling be a concern?
Okay, selling I think I should take lah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, whether is it a concern? Yeah. So one of these are valid concern, Jolene. So one of the advice that we give often to our clients or to our friends is also to, before you actually buy an overseas property or before you acquire, also check out two things. Number one is the rental market, right? Whether there's a demand, all right, for your property, because once you own it, you're not going to stay there first. Okay, so you're going to rent it out first. So the rental income, the rentability is important. Secondly, then of course, before we acquire, we also want to plan for exit strategy. Okay, so how long we want to hold this property, and when we exit, is it easy to exit, all right, or is very difficult to exit? Okay, so this one, on this note, I would say most of the countries at the moment, all right, that we invest into, you are able to exit. All right. The question here is that at what price? Are you exiting at a loss or will you be exiting at a gain? So then it boils back to the beginning. What is your entry price? Okay, so at this moment, while we enter the market, is it an oversupply situation? Okay, if it's an oversupply situation, then of course our exit plan cannot be, we cannot look for a short exit plan. Our exit plan will probably have to be longer term. All right, because in the longer term, the market is very interesting. When there is an oversupply situation, what happened? All the developer, they will not buy land, right? They will not build. Okay, because they have to offload their stock first. So once they offload the stock, and then the demand will come back again. Okay, so again is the demand and supply situations. So we have to look into this. Okay, I don't have a direct answer. Okay, but then in a normal market, okay, there should not be any reason why you cannot sell. Okay, and the type of property that you invest into is also very important. Whether does it has a local demand or not? So what we want to know is that there should have a local demand, so that when you exit, the local can buy from you. Yeah.
Maybe I also add on a little bit to what Joseph have mentioned, because exit strategy at the end of the day, yes, we have to look at the local population, whether they can afford the property or not. Now, let's say we, in the context of Australia, right, the secondary market is very much, you can only sell back to their residents. So you can't sell to another foreigners. So that is things for you to, for an investor to consider when you buy into the property, because whether you exit 5 years later or 10 years later, that should form part of your exit strategy when you move out. The things that an investor should have to consider. Yeah.
Kenny, thanks for bringing this up. That also aroused me to actually ask you the next question. The resident that, as you mentioned, right, in Australia, because when you, as a foreigner, we can buy off plan.
Yes, correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but then when we sell, we can sell to the resident. Now, who are the residents?
The residents will be those with the citizenships, and they are that country's PR, but definitely not another foreigners who is buying in.
Okay, I understand you.
Yeah.
If I understand you correctly, it also means that today, example, let's say I'm working in Australia, okay? So I have an employment pass. All right, that is to say I'm a resident of Australia. Is that correct?
Okay, yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that means I can buy. But once I stop work, I no longer hold on to a valid employment pass. And of course, I need to sell the property.
Yeah.
All right, so so long as I have a long-term visa, that means I can stay as a resident in Australia. Basically, I can acquire, all right, I can acquire property on the secondary market. That means on the
right. Yeah.
Correct, yeah?
As long as you maintain that that visa that gives you the residential so-called status.
Okay, again, yeah. So this is the resident status, what it meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Of course, from an investment perspective, it's very important. In fact, every time when we buy a property, especially for investment only, we have to ask how are we going to sell, be it buying Singapore properties or be it buying overseas property. Like for example, when I buy, the question is how am I actually going to sell when I sell, even when I buy. I know that's quite ironic, but yeah, that's a very good exercise to do. Okay, there's actually one more question. Okay, probably let's take into context that let's take into context that MM2H is still around. Is it applicable for East Malaysia as well?
Okay, interesting question. Yeah. Okay. Okay, East Malaysia, we have to check because what I understood is that, especially like Sabah and Sarawak, okay, the MM2H, not too sure, all right, what is the requirement, because it did not specifically mention about East Malaysia. But somewhere, yeah, it came across my mind somewhere, right? Not during this while, that East Malaysia may have a separate criteria. all right, if MM2H applies. But this one, like I said, we are not the immigration specialists. Okay, what we are sharing here tonight here is that you have these options, right, to have a long-term visa. Now, if you are really keen to go into East Malaysia, then what we suggest is that if MM2H is still applicable for you, then it's good to just check with the authority, all right, because they have their contacts online, they have their emails online. You can always email them. If you need the help of the link and all this, we can actually provide you.
Okay, I think that's all the questions that we have. Really, really thank you so much, everyone. So once again, what we want to do here is to just set up an interest group, gather people who are interested in overseas property investors. So make sure everyone get the right information, get the right education. Like I said, make some investment decision before you go in. So that's all what we want. And really, really thank you so much, Kenny and Joseph, for willing to start providing information and facilitate the group and make sure we invest safely, we get our returns, and most of the time we are able to stay in the property that we actually invest in, like I said. Okay, I think there's no other questions. Both gentlemen, any other things you actually want to add? Kenny and Joseph, anything you want to add before we go?
Yeah, I guess that's about it. But when you talk about overseas investment, like what Emin has mentioned earlier, we really encourage you to join this Facebook group. All right, so that we can actually share and exchange experience, share information and exchange experience, and then we can learn from one another. All right, when there is good opportunity, all right, we can also look at some properties to consider, all right, for investment. Because end of the day, Singapore is great. Singapore property, I believe most of us own Singapore property because you need a home over your head, a shelter over your head. Definitely you have your first property. And some of you probably have your second and third. But I think property investment, end of the day, we should have a holistic approach. All right. Other than having all our eggs, all right, in Singapore, sometimes or at many times, there are good value and good opportunity for overseas property. So we should also have one or some few overseas properties to actually have a balanced portfolio so that we can take the advantage, all right, with the capital that we have, we can actually deploy it more efficiently, right? Because don't forget, Singapore, if you are third property, you can't escape yourself from paying hefty ABSD, right, Kenny?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So third property, what is the ABSD that we have to pay?
Well, I don't have third property in Singapore.
All right. So Singapore, with third property onwards, we talk about 15%, right? Now, Singapore property easily, if we talk about condominium, easily above 1 million, correct?
Yeah, 1.2 million, yeah.
Yeah, so we just take 1 million is 150,000, correct? 15%.
Yes.
So 150,000, can we invest in overseas?
Oh, definitely is. Yeah.
I think we can, right, in some country, you probably can buy 1 unit fully paid cash.
Yes.
Right, with the ABSD money, right?
Yeah.
Again, don't get us wrong. We are not saying that don't pay ABSD and own Singapore property. We are just saying that have a holistic approach. Yeah. So we do encourage you to quickly join our Facebook group so that we can get to know one another and we can start this journey, all right, of learning and sharing.
Okay, anything from you, Kenny?
Well, I guess as investors, we would want to make informed decisions. So it's good to learn from one another, get more resources, share more experiences, so that we don't make mistakes that at the end of the day we will regret, and then spending extra money or buying into something that is hard for us to liquidate. So yes, I agree with Joseph, and let's join the group, and then we'll learn more from each other.
Okay, so with that, really, really thank you so much, everybody. We'll just hang about a bit more just in case you have questions. If not, thank you so much. Stay safe, and we hope to see each other again very soon. Okay, bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.